Tuesday on Daily Delivery. I'm Michael Rand. Glad to be back for another day, and I hope everybody's having a great day out there today, and a great show coming up. Andrew Krammer from the Star Tribune will join me here in just a little bit, a little film review. I will present him 3 hot takeaways from the Vikings game on Sunday, their 28-6 win over the Giants, and he will help either corroborate my evidence or talk me down from a too strong of a position. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some of the other stuff we saw in that Vikings win. We'll do some Vikings poetry in a little while. The always fun way to get into the Vikings game with my good friend Keith Rashad. So we'll get to that here in a little bit as well. Monday Night Football, Packers injury news. We'll get to that at the end of the show. First, though, what I miss: Twins in free fall, continuing to free fall. There's no other polite way to describe what is happening to them right now, right? Because they come off this road trip. They're 2-5. The manager rips them on Sunday, says they played an unprofessional series against the Royals. They're still like clinging to the wild card spot, right? They're the last wild card right now, and that's part of the problem. We'll get to that in a minute. They're in the last wild card spot right now, but they get this nice little reprieve, kind of a reprieve. The Angels are coming to town. Worst record outside of the White Sox in the American League. One of the potentially easiest series on their schedule down the stretch. So you're thinking, okay, if any time is the time for them to start going in the right direction, this is the series for them to do it, right? This is they're going to have to get it done right now. So they come out Monday. They've been playing a bunch in a row. They're probably tired. They lose 6-2 to the Angels. Not what they were looking for. Another short start. This one from David Festa, who had been pretty good lately, but he gave up 4 runs in 4 innings. The offense gets nothing going per usual lately. They lose. And so now this is their reality. Boston, Detroit, and Seattle are all just 3 games back of the Twins for that final wild card spot with 18 games to play. Doesn't sound like a lot of season left. 18 games for the Twins. It probably sounds like 3 months worth of games right now with the way they're playing. They got to somehow find a way to get this to the finish line, this plane that's sputtering down to the finish, down to its landing. Something has to turn around, or this is going to be one of the worst collapses that I can remember them having in any season, because they are sputtering to the finish right now. Now, couple positives. One very short term. Pablo Lopez pitches tonight. So you got Pablo Lopez going for you. One of the 2 games every 5 where you feel like you've got a good chance based on your starting pitching, because these other 3 rookies in the rotation right now, unreliable. Anything they're giving you is a bonus right now. Anything they're giving you is helpful, is a bonus, but they're not giving you much right now. They're not giving you innings. They're not giving you much quality right now because people are starting to figure them out. But when Pablo Lopez pitches, you can reasonably expect to be in the game. That sounds like quite a playoff. That's quite a playoff mantra, right? We can reasonably expect to plausibly be in the game. But Lopez has been terrific. The last game they won was the last Pablo Lopez start. If you will recall, it was the final game of that Rays series. They won it 3-2. You're thinking, okay, they split with the Rays going into that Kansas City series. Important win. Maybe they can, have a good series in Kansas City, kind of regain their foothold. Didn't happen. They got smoked by the Royals. They lost to the Angels last night. Now it's Pablo's turn again to stop the bleeding. Can he do it? He's been up for it. He's been great the last couple months. They're going to need him again. If we come back and talk about this game tomorrow and they've lost and Lopez has a poor start, then there will be an extra layer of panic to it. But right now, Lopez is pitching great, so you got to hope, if you are the Twins, that he can continue to do that. The other longer-term piece of good news is that Carlos Correa says that his plantar fasciitis is starting to heal. Correa saying that he traveled to Los Angeles, tried a new treatment. It's extremely painful for this plantar fasciitis, but he says the pain is worth it because it's working. It's helping him heal up, saying he should hopefully, doesn't want to get ahead of himself, but hopefully should be able to return soon. He has been out for almost exactly 2 months, and they have been missing him. If they got him back in any way, shape, or form very soon, that would be huge for them. I don't want to see Carlos Correa on a rehab assignment, by the way. Carlos Correa is a veteran. You don't need to send him on a rehab assignment. He knows how to play baseball. He knows how to play clutch baseball games in September and October. When and if Carlos Correa is ready to go, plop him back in the lineup. We don't need to see him play 3 games anywhere else. We don't need to see him go on any kind of rehab assignment. Just let him keep playing. Let him do his thing. He doesn't need to go on like instructional games, things like that. Just let him play for the Twins if and when he is healthy. But that would be a huge boost because, right, they just lost Max Kepler to the injured list. Byron Buxton, they thought maybe they'd be getting him back. Nope. He is still out with that hip pain. They could use any reinforcements, especially one who is playing as well as Carlos Correa was earlier this year, who gives them the quality that Correa gives them. So watch for that. If he comes back, that could be the only thing I could see giving them kind of that positive momentum boost. And in the short term, maybe a Pablo Lopez start will be the thing that gets them back on the right track tonight.
Let's bring in Andrew Krammer right now. Of course, covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune. He was in New Jersey, I guess, technically, witness to the 28-6 Vikings win in the opener. Andrew, safe flight back. How you doing?
Doing well. Doing a lot better than Daniel Jones probably feels this morning. I'm sure he feels a little beaten up.
I would imagine so. I don't think he had a great day. I think he prefers the Ed Donatel Vikings more than the Brian Flores Vikings. What do you think?
I think so. It was a remarkable debut for year 2 of Brian Flores. And yes. One thing that Harrison Smith said after the game stuck out to me regarding that. He had said, we just had a really smart rush plan for Daniel Jones. And it was obvious when you looked at the game and then looking back, watching it over, how little they blitzed, how effective their 4-man rush was, and just how patient they had to be to keep him in the pocket. Because honestly, his legs at this point for Daniel Jones, that's the most dangerous part of his game. He's not the best processor of the field. He's not the best thrower of the football in terms of the top 10 or top 15 or maybe even top 20 guys in the NFL. So the Vikings knew what they were up against, and their coaching plan and how they executed it showed that, and just kind of how they thought, you know what, we're going to make you beat us with your arm, and we're going to bet that you can't, and he couldn't.
We're going to get into more of the film in a minute in this review, but Andrew Krammer, I want to embark on a journey today. This is the first time we're doing this segment. 3 hot takeaways. I've got some things from the game. We'll have some things from the games every week. I'm going to throw some things out there. You can either feel free to corroborate or talk me down. You kind of do that anyway. Usually, I get out there more on a limb, and you're like, yeah, let's come back towards the sturdier part of the tree here, Rand. Come on, let's get back over here. But the first one, Andrew Van Ginkel. Here's my first hot takeaway. Andrew Van Ginkel was the defensive steal of free agency, not just for the Vikings, but one of them at least for the whole NFL. That guy is good, and it wasn't just that play.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Very underrated. Absolute steal in terms of 2-year, $20 million deal. I mean, he's getting paid quite a bit, $10 million a year, but it's not. You're right. It's not upper echelon. Totally max contract, as it were, in the NFL. What this guy can do is everything, and that's what the Vikings love about him. He can be an off-ball linebacker, as he was in Miami at times, just standing in the middle like an Ivan Pace or a Blake Cashman, but he's more at home up at the line of scrimmage off left or right tackle, blitzing the edges like he did on a few occasions. And there was one point where he was roving the middle like one of those stand-up linebackers on a 3rd and goal, and that's when he ended up getting the sack on Daniel Jones, who tried to escape up the middle. Van Ginkel sheds his guy, stops that play. That was one snap after he stopped this different quarterback. This was a design quarterback run on 2nd and goal. So he was all over the place. This guy was. His long hair was on fire, it seemed,
yes,
with what he was doing. So he's really a fit for Brian Flores. They obviously played together. He played under Flores in Miami when Flores was the head coach over there. And that's why they wanted to go get him. They knew the kind of fit he could be. And they compare him to a Josh Metellus type, just in terms of you never know where he's going to line up.
Yeah, I mean, he was all over the field. It wasn't just that pick. Like I said, you mentioned that first Giant series where they're driving the ball pretty well. He shuts down those two plays at the goal line, makes the sack on Jones on that third down play where I really thought Jones was going to get in the end zone on that play, and he gets dragged down, a yard behind the line of scrimmage. They have to settle for a field goal. That's a big play. Giants had like a 3rd and 2 at midfield later, I think in the first half, and he shuts Jones down on a designed run. The Giants have to punt. Like, he influenced that game in so many different ways. So more to come from him, I suppose, but that was a pretty good debut for him and a lot of those defensive guys.
He did, and this is just kind of what he does. This is his 4th NFL touchdown. He's got 3 on defense, 1 on a blocked punt a couple years ago, and this latest touchdown, I'm sure people saw the stat. It happened in 1.16 seconds or something like
amazing.
That. It was the fastest interception since he did it the last time, and it was a similar play against the Commanders and then quarterback Sam Howell, who checked into a screen and threw it. Van Ginkel read the whole thing, and so it was kind of deja vu for him. But the Vikings will take it, and anytime offenses want to try that, I think he's going to be ready.
Other side of the ball, hot takeaway too. Aaron Jones was the offensive steal of free agency. The Vikings haven't had you tweeted it. I was thinking the same thing. Vikings haven't had a guy like this for a while, at least a couple years. And I don't think Dalvin Cook at the end of his Vikings tenure looked as frisky as Jones did on Sunday.
Yeah, we've seen that with how Dalvin's looked elsewhere at other stops so far. Yeah, that one's a little bit tougher for me, not because Aaron Jones didn't look amazing in that game. He absolutely did, but they're still paying $7 million for a running back. It kind of felt like they paid more premium at that position than for an Andrew Van Ginkel and true edge rusher who can do anything. But I think they paid for it, but it's what they paid for, and he's given them what they wanted. And he was the 3rd down back along with CJ Ham. Ty Chandler's got a very niche role in this offense where he's going to touch the ball when he's in the game. He's that kind of an athlete and talent. I think he had 11 touches on 19 snaps, but it's still like a 30-40% share that's not going to include a lot of passing down work. And when the Vikings aren't leading in games, and that's going to happen sometimes eventually, I don't think Ty Chandler is going to see the field maybe as much as he did on Sunday. And so Aaron Jones is going to become even more valuable as you get into more competitive games moving forward. But man, the guy just creates. Like there was one play early in this game I was rewatching where Blake Brandel just gets benched into the backfield, and Aaron Jones sees it as he's taking the ball, the handoff from Sam Darnold, and already has in his mind what his plant foot's going to do with his right to cut to his left to avoid that immediate pressure as it's developing in his face. And we've seen so many running backs, most recently Cam Akers and Alexander Mattison, just run right into that block and kind of fall over or stumble and not have that full head of steam. And it was one of the many Jones kicked outside and just outran everybody to the edge. And it probably prompted me to tweet that about this guy and his speed. Because, yeah, you're right. Some of the stuff reminded me of prime Dalvin Cook. And the fact that he's only 29 years or is already, 29 years old makes it all the more impressive.
Yeah, I think the touchdown run exemplified that, right? Like O'Connell talked about it after the game. Like he's got to make those quick decisions, just like milliseconds down at the goal line. I think O'Connell even said that, where it's like, you got to decide if you're going to bounce. You got to decide where the hole is. You got to decide if you think you can outrun the guy and kind of get that angle. Like all those things are happening like this. You don't have time to think. You just have to have those instincts. And he seems to have the kind of combination of still enough physical talent plus those instincts and experience to kind of put the whole package together.
Yeah, and the only questions about him moving forward are that age, the experience, the burden of taking all those carries over the years. And he wasn't a full-time guy in Green Bay. They did kind of limit his workload. But yeah, how's it going to look in November, December when he is, you're feeling more 29 or 30, which in the NFL is more like 40 or 50.
And I think that's the whole question for the Vikings, because I think their depth, there's the drop off at depth at a lot of spots. I think we'll get to that in a minute. Third hot takeaway though, Sam Darnold can be a mid-level quarterback. Let's dial it back a little bit. He can be the number 15 quarterback in the league. That's still pretty hot.
You wanted to get pretty spicy. That is 15 would be spicy considering what we'd seen from him. I was going to say these takes, I feel like you can get hotter with them. And then you came,
spice level, the spice level will increase it. The more that people can withstand, the more we'll increase the spice level on the menu.
I like that, because this last one you came through. Top 15, I don't know, just because we'll see how this develops throughout the year. But Kevin O'Connell very much coached this game like it wasn't Kirk Cousins, which you have to love to see if you're a Vikings fan. And that sounds obvious, but it's not, because many coaches are in love with their systems. They think, I'm going to teach a guy the system. He's going to run it. I saw a previous guy do it. He can come in and do it. O'Connell is very much doing the bread and butter of what they like to do foundationally on offense, but what they're doing is making it easy on Darnold. And you go back to the long drive, the 99-yarder, they start backed up to their own end zone. The first 3 plays out of that drive are a run to Ty Chandler, and then when that went nowhere, a quick play action toss into the flat to Ty Chandler, where it's a one-read play. Darnold doesn't need to think, get the ball out, don't test your protection. And then another run, I believe, to Jones or Chandler, and then that got them to the 10-yard line when they set up the shot to Jefferson for 44 yards to get them out of there. That is kind of taking it easy on your quarterback there, of saying, look, we're going to be methodical. We're going to run. We're going to get the ball out of your hands quick. It's smart coaching. It's stuff that in the past with Kirk, we've seen him say, you know what, take a 3-5 step drop and see what you can chuck up there. They didn't do that with Sam. And what I'm curious is, how long is that going to last? Is the leash going to get longer with him when he shows this comfort level, when he plays the way he does? And because this is just first game stuff, right? And this can obviously evolve and change as Sam grows. So if Sam shows that he can be more, run a more complex kind of version of what they're doing down the road, then I could totally believe that. And frankly, if the rest of the pieces around him, like Aaron Jones, we talk about, if they all play to the level they did on Sunday, because there were some snaps on there was a 3rd and 8 I was just watching where Brian O'Neill's one-on-one on Brian Burns. Christian Darrisaw's one-on-one on Kayvon Thibodeau, and they stall him. They played great. I mean, Brian Burns was kind of nowhere to be seen for parts of that game for the Giants, one of the highest paid pass rushers in football, and it was because the Vikings have great edge protection. If those guys keep playing like that, Darnold can run, a pretty simple offense and be pretty great, and maybe be that top 15.
So the rest of the film, I think, will tell us that the offensive line was a little spotty early, especially the interior. It gave up, I think, Ed Ingram gave up a sack on the first possession, I think, to Dexter Lawrence. And they were, I think Brandell had a penalty. Bradbury had a holding penalty, although that was a little iffy, the penalty to Bradbury. I thought that was kind of a weak call, but got better, I felt like, as the game went on. Darnold had a lot of pretty clean pockets, especially as the second quarter goes on, the third quarter. What did you think of the offensive line overall?
I thought they gave him a lot of help. When you saw Johnny Munt chipping, you saw CJ Ham brought in on third downs to be the personal protector. That's telling your offense and Sam Darnold that we're just giving you 1, 2, or 3 route options here. You're not going to have a full 5. And they did that pretty frequently. So again, that's just smart coaching, understanding that we need to give you help, give the offensive line help. That Giants D-line is stacked. When I say Thibodeau, that was a top 10 pick. When we talk about Burns, he's making $25 million a year. And then Dexter Lawrence in the middle, as you mentioned, is one of the highest paid and baddest men in football, attacking people. And he had that sack on Ingram when they schemed up a one-on-one. And coaches say this all the time. Fans will be like, why is Ed Ingram one-on-one with Dexter Lawrence? The defense dictates that. The way that you can dictate Justin Jefferson being one-on-one with the linebacker, the defense can say, we're going to go 5 wide, 5 across, and you're going to have to go one-on-one with us. Even if we drop 2 or 3 of these guys out and we only rush 2 or 3, you're still going to be stuck in those hesitant moments that set up the one-on-one. And that's what happened. And that's how you get Ingram on his back with Lawrence taking down Darnold. So they're going to do that. Teams are going to target their interior. They've been doing it for years. And the consistent theme is that Garrett Bradbury's been the center that long, and they haven't had consistent guard play on either side of him the entire time. So this was Brandell's first game as a starter at left guard. He's mainly started at tackle before in the NFL. So I think that's going to take some time. And then Ingram's a guy who's struggled all summer. So that was not a shock to see either. So that is going to be something that's going to take coaching. It's going to take a good run game, play action rollouts to get the quarterback moving. And fortunately for the Vikings, you won't be playing that defensive line every week, but you're going to have 2 pretty good ones coming up here in San Francisco and Houston.
Yeah, that's true. It's not going to it might get a little bit easier, but it's not going to be easy. We'll see how the line holds up. Jefferson, it wasn't a quiet day. He had the long catch to get them out of the shadow of their own end zone. That 99-yard drive, he caps that with the 4th down touchdown catch. But as soon as Addison goes out, you see, I think it was a third down play where there was 3 Giants in the vicinity of Jefferson. This is a concern right now, pending the severity of Addison's newest ankle injury, other ankle. Still no Hawkinson for a while. That could be a concern going forward.
It could. Yeah, Addison's had 2 ankle injuries now in the last month, which is not what you want to see for a relatively small wide receiver who that's kind of the main concern with him. Jalen Naylor, though, passed the initial test. He catches that 21-yard touchdown, showed that he could play through an ankle injury because I'd heard he was not 100% going into that game, but they still, he was pushing to play and they wanted him to play. And Brandon Powell was a guy who obviously had a lot of work as well in the offense, but wasn't targeted. So they've got some depth and they can have some options there. But yeah, it's not Jordan Addison. They're missing TJ Hawkinson, but if the Giants want to leave Josh Oliver as wide open as they did for a 21-yard catch over the middle to set up a goal-to-go sequence, they'll take it. And you don't need TJ Hawkinson for that. There's just things that the Giants did. Like we can break down the Vikings all day. The Giants are bad. Daniel Jones is bad. The Giants defense, while having talent, did some things that you can tell they're young in the secondary, young and inexperienced at linebacker as well. They're just not good. So the Vikings showed that they were a well-coached, well-prepared team, ready to pounce on a much inferior opponent.
Well, that probably leads me to my final point here is you give Brian Flores the sort of talent that they've given him, even if some of these guys are on one-year contracts, veterans, things like that. He knows what to do with it. And man, they looked the part. Again, game 1 against an inferior offense. Everybody is relatively healthy right now, but when they're healthy, this is a really well-coached and talented defense.
Yeah, it is. And they're deep too, which is fun to see. They're playing 5-6 defensive backs, a lot of snaps and rotating 4, 5, 6 man sub packages in and out of there. They're doing the same thing on the defensive line, where at times they're playing 4 edge rushers at once, and Jihad Ward counts as one, even though he's more of a interior guy. But they've got just different bodies that they're willing to kind of trudge in there. And I think it's the work of 2 years of having Flores in the building, pinpointing the type of players he wants, being armed by ownership to go out there and the front office to go out there and handpick those guys, Van Ginkel being a big one. And then you're seeing that depth come to life on the field. And frankly, Ivan Pace, a guy that wasn't drafted, a guy they didn't pay big money to, he's been one of the best revelations for them. And coaches have talked about how, there's certain guys who they don't put a lot of load on mentally so they can play fast. I don't know this, but my guess is he's one of them, because you could tell he's just playing with blinding speed against the run, against the pass. He has clear, decisive assignments and jobs, and that's a combination of good coaching, letting a young talent who's frankly still pretty inexperienced and still growing and maturing as an NFL player, just setting him loose. And you saw it early in the game where it was a second down run to the edge, and it was well blocked by the Giants, and the Singletary should have gotten work and should have gotten 5 or 6 yards, but Pace just comes through there and takes him by the shoulders and rips him down. And I mean, those are the kind of plays that star linebackers make, and he's playing like a first-round pick.
Wow. Well, that is a find for them. They could use a few of those, but the task gets harder next week. We'll see if the same enthusiasm is evident next week, or if we're talking about, the offensive line struggled, the defense, here and there they got picked apart, things like that. But for 1 week, they've got to feel really good about themselves, and that is the big takeaway there. Andrew Krammer, appreciate it. I'm sure we'll do a lot of Access Vikings, listen to Access Vikings from the post game as well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Great stuff from Andrew. And just a reminder, or maybe a first notice, you're going to be doing more video work starting this fall. And Andrew and I will be doing the 3 hot takeaways as a video in addition to as a part of this podcast. It will be available on Mondays. I'll make sure to put it on social media, but you can also find it on the Star Tribune YouTube page. Probably be linked up on the Star Tribune main website as well. But look for that if you want to see us. If you don't just want to hear us, if you want to see us, I'm making an attempt to do a daily video as part of the podcast now. So check that out. More details to come, but I will make sure you can find that in all the places you want. But the best place to always find that will be the Star Tribune's YouTube page. You can find that just under the regular videos, or there's also a daily delivery tab where all of those will be collected up.
Another award-winning season of Vikings poetry is back. My good friend Keith Rishat joins the show as he does this time of year. Keith, how are you?
I am so very excited to be part of the least popular segments that you have on this podcast yet again. The enthusiasm's overflowing.
You say that every year, but there are fans that are like, when's poetry coming back? There also are some people that are like, yeah, could do without it. But you know what? That's what makes it good. It's memorable, and in this business, you want to be memorable. So
it is my cross to bear to try to speak to the small-minded people who do not understand that poetry is the only way to talk about football.
If you're going to bare your soul, it's got to be poetry, right?
Yep.
Vikings won 28-6. That's not in dispute. You have four poems. I'm assuming haikus, but I won't make too many assumptions about the game. Let's roll forward with number one.
Okay. Rare blissful moments. When life's tasks are done with ease. Andrew Van Ginkel.
I really like Van Ginkel, man. Andrew Krammer and I are talking about him. Did talk about him already for the show. I didn't know what to expect.
Are you or did you?
We did. We did talk about it for the show. He
had a weird time warp there for a minute.
Well, okay, so this is the magic of
Andrew Van Ginkel.
Well, but this is the magic of podcasting. I know that Andrew and I are going to talk about the other Andrew. We haven't done it yet, but that segment will precede yours. So it's kind of this time warp where on the show, you've already heard us talk about Andrew Van Ginkel, but on this segment, I haven't talked about Andrew yet. So
I don't exactly understand why he gets to go first, but okay, whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of unfair, but Andrew Van Ginkel, he was great. It wasn't just the pick. It was, he shut down Daniel Jones on a couple different runs. He was all over the field. He was great.
Well, his touchdown, right?
Yeah.
The interception and touchdown was just one of those nice little moments where everything just felt easy. It's like Daniel Jones just kind of plopped it right to him.
Right.
And let him run right straight into the end zone. And that was, okay. All right.
It was, I think I read it was the fastest interception in like a year, just because in terms of like how fast the ball came out until the time of the interception, like from the snap to interception was like 1.16 seconds or something like that. And then the fastest one before that was also a Van Ginkel interception on a very similar play. So he's got something where he reads this play very well. That was timely too, right? It was 21-6. And if the Giants were going to do anything, it was going to have to start there. And instead, it's just that got it. Walk right in the end zone. It was beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, number two.
Ignorance abounds. We embrace stupidity. Idiot kickoffs.
Didn't really change much, right? It's just they're still going to kick it into the end zone until further notice. If you're not going to change anything about what happens unless you either have to move the kickoff back so that they can't just automatically boot it into the end zone, or you have to make it more punitive for a touchback so it's not just 5 more yards to the 30. It's just kind of silly. It doesn't do much for me.
This is going to be a long and terrible year where the kicker allegedly, I don't believe this. Okay. This is something that I refuse to accept as part of reality, but allegedly somebody scored a touchdown off of one of those kickoffs yesterday. I am of the opinion that it is going to be nothing but touchbacks all season long. And it's fine. Last year there were lots of touchbacks and what have you, and you only occasionally saw a guy run the ball out of the end zone or what have you. And it's kind of a routine play, but they somehow made it worse, right? They somehow made it something that's even less exciting or has any potential whatsoever. And maybe it's just the old man yelling at clouds and it used to be this way or what have you. But I do not see a scenario. And again, You can pretend that somebody scored a touchdown on one of these yesterday. I don't believe
You're
it.
not buying it. You're not buying it.
No, not at all. I've seen
Show
no
me the
evidence.
video evidence. Show me the video. Tell me. Show me the video. There probably is video evidence. I'm sure there is.
And even if you show me the video evidence, it's clearly AI. ChatGPT clearly made that touchdown.
The bots have interrupted us again and made a touchdown.
Exactly, and it's just it somehow made the kickoff feel even more pointless than it did last year.
Yeah. At a certain point, they're going to have to like tweak this more to make it even more distant from what we remember, or they're just going to have to do away with kickoffs and say everybody gets the ball at the 25 unless you want to try an onside kick. That's just the way it's got to be, right?
Well, and then the other part about it is like they've eliminated the surprise onside kick too.
Right. So you have to announce your intent. You're like, we're doing it. Here we go. We're doing it.
Which is going to make it even like stupider, right? Because it's just going to so dumb.
Well, and they're like trying to eliminate injuries, which is it's a good place. Like trying to thread the needle between fewer injuries, but also not, maybe maintaining some sort of element of excitement in this play. I don't know if they can do it though. I think they're a little misguided here. Their optimism is a little bit overserved here, overstuffed, because it's not a good play. It's going to take some time to get used to, and that is the most polite thing to say about it. Vaiku 3, please.
A Tucson morning. Did I actually have fun? We stayed the whole game.
Stayed the whole game. Okay, what does that mean?
Okay. So what that means is for the 3 longtime listeners to this segment, they already know I'm a single father, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
But what has changed in the time since we last did this is I moved from North Carolina to Arizona.
Yes.
Okay. And that change has been big. It's been stressful, almost all the way across the country we moved. Mm-hmm. New job, new environment, an 8-year-old who was not enthusiastic about leaving the only house he's ever lived in and friends and stuff like that. And so it's been a little difficult to cultivate a community, as it were. And, not knowing a lot of people and stuff like that. It's gotten so bad. This is how bad it's gotten, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the stress and the newness and all this kind of stuff. It's gotten so bad that I've even considered finally signing up for some of those dating apps, which I'm terrified of.
By the way, if you ever do, let me make your profile. Don't make your own profile. I'll help you with that.
That's what I was thinking about.
Let me make your profile for you. I'll smooth out the edges for you if you need.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, because I was thinking about signing up for this thing, but I was thinking about, what does that profile look like?
I have no idea.
It's like, hey, ladies, right? Are you interested in a middle-aged man who has an 8-year-old son who's currently living less than 5 minutes away from his mother? Is that something that warms you up, right?
And lives 12 minutes from the sun.
Was 12 minutes from, and are you and by the way, I got a demanding job, right, that sucks up a lot of time, and 85% of the little bit of free time that I have is spent taking my son to youth sports. Is that warming up the loins, ladies?
And the other 12% is spent watching this idiot football team that happened to win on Sunday.
Right. So hey, look, if you're interested in a balding dude pushing 50.
See, like, right? I said, I gotta tell you, man. Okay.
It's a balding dude pushing 50 who can meet you every other Thursday afternoon for maybe a coffee date, right?
Really, right?
Hey, maybe, right? Yeah. I'm your guy. So that's what the dating profile would look like, right? All of which is to say that I'm still looking for community here in my new environment.
Very understandable. Yep.
And so what I did is I found that there was a place where Vikings fans congregate here in Tucson, where I'm living now. And so then me and my son went.
Okay.
And we got there, and he's 8. He's all excited because he gets to eat a bunch of greasy, sports bar food. Yep. He had more Dr. Pepper than he absolutely should have.
Right.
Just right, to the point where like 3 hours later, when the crash happened, right,
Yeah.
the inevitable post caffeine crash happened, he was moping around. He's like, Dad, I'm depressed.
He got his PhD in Dr. Pepper.
It's exactly right. But we went to this thing, and then and we were sitting there, and he's excited, and I'm excited, and this older gentleman comes over to the table, and he invites us to sit at his table because it was just him and his older son. Turns out the guy actually lived in Grand Forks for a while in our hometown.
Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Right. And so then we sat and talked about that. We had a pleasant conversation. We definitely everybody kept quiet when the political ads came on, so there was peace, at all times.
Right.
And it exactly as I anticipated, right? About midway through the third quarter, my son gets a little bored, but we had the video game, so he was able to make it through. Like it was a nice way to watch the game and just have and remind yourself that part of the most fun thing about sports as a viewer, as not the participant as a viewer, but is to have that community and to watch it with other people and just sort of enjoy the thing collectively. Yes. And so it was this really nice moment in this period of time when there's been a lot of disruption.
Yes.
Right. So thank you, Vikings fans. Even if you hate poetry, I did appreciate that moment.
That's fantastic. I love that about that because you're right. There is that kind of element of bonding that you have over sports. And in any community you go to, there's going to be any number of Vikings fans. And there's a lot of transplants from here that go to Arizona, that retire in Arizona. So you're probably going to find a lot of Vikings fans in Arizona, probably more in Phoenix, but Tucson certainly too. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And a good game for you guys to watch. Kept you interested. Okay.
No, it's more in Phoenix. Okay, I guess.
This is more people in Phoenix. It's just okay. All right. So,
but that goes right into the last one.
Haiku 4.
Close to the last one. Okay. All right. A stress-free contest. A delight from start to end. I'm sure it will last.
It's got to. I mean, 17-0, and then first round bye, and then 2 more, and then so it's 20. You got to do
not only will it be 17-0 and first round bye, but I'll bet it will go so smoothly that the NFL will give them a second round bye.
Yep, and maybe just a bye straight through the Super Bowl. They don't even have to play the Super Bowl. You just give them the trophy. Give them the
or
Lombardi
perhaps just
trophy.
a quarter of the Super Bowl, just so we can have the event.
Okay, that'd be nice. They will play stiffer competition at some point this year. Maybe in every game this year. That's not a good Giants team.
They're so bad.
Daniel Jones made a lot of money off of that playoff win over the Vikings a couple of years ago. The Giants might have wished that never happened at this point because it's been nothing but disaster for him since then. Giants defense was supposed to be pretty good, and I thought the Vikings were at least adequate on offense. Darnold was really good. Aaron Jones, I like Aaron Jones a lot. He gives them an element in the running game that they have not had since like mid-career Dalvin Cook, right?
Well, forgive me for getting a little too technical with the X's and O's here and what have you, but I do think that Aaron Jones might be an upgrade from what we had last year.
He's definitely an upgrade from last year. And you just watch him run the ball. He looks like he knows what he's doing, right? Like even the 3-yard touchdown run, which looks simple when you're just watching it. He outruns a guy to the pylon. He has to make a really quick decision. Okay, runs up the middle or like runs off tackle. It's not there. You got to decide right away if you're going to bounce that thing. He does. He makes it to the pylon. Like he is a smart but also still physically gifted running back. They have not had that for a while.
Well, yes, and on top of which, you and I talked about this previously, not on the podcast, but the variance for this Vikings team is wide. They could be a 4-win team, they could be a 10-win team, or they could even possibly be more if, and this is how it is with this team right now, if 7 things all go right for them, they could have a very good team and a very good season, right? Darnold shows up. Nobody gets hurt. The cornerbacks play the way that they can, or at least at a level that meets the rest of the team. If every single one of those things goes well for them, then they have the potential to have a really successful season because they do have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Now, the likelihood that all 7 of those things is going to go well is maybe not that high or that strong, right? And we even saw some of it because I haven't looked thus far, but I don't know what Addison's status is. And so
they said it was the other ankle, and they don't think it's too serious. But yeah, they without him, they're really, if he misses next game, they're going to be really down to it in terms of pass catchers.
So, if things keep going that way, if the breaks keep going the way that one would want them to, then sure, fine, you have a competitive team. I'm perhaps a little skeptical that that's what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the things that we said need to go well for them to have a good season, they all went well, more or less, in week 1, and it happened also to be against a pretty bad opponent that just didn't play very well either. So yeah, how does it hold up over the course of 17 games against much better teams? That is still the thing to know. That the thing that is at least encouraging is I looked at this game and I was like, if they can't win this game, I don't know when their next win is going to be, because I didn't think the Giants were very good. So to win pretty convincingly against the Giants at least gives you that extra week, probably an extra couple weeks where you're like, okay, maybe there's something here. You don't automatically have to start thinking about the draft in 2025 after 3 hours of football.
I have full faith in with all of my heart and soul in Sam Darnold.
It was a very optimistic four sets of poems today, and for good reason. 28-6 win over the Giants. Not just that, you look at the division, right? The division, the NFC North, is supposed to be really good this season, but then you saw what happened in week 1. Detroit got an overtime win over the Rams. That's a pretty good game, a good win, but they might not be the best team in the conference, at least. I think they're still the division favorites for sure. Royce says the Lions are going to Lions, and something's going to happen to them, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They seem like the best team still in the division. 2 through 4, a little bit more up for grabs right now, though, than I thought. I thought going in, Green Bay clearly the best of the rest, maybe even contending to win the division. Jordan Love, though, is going to miss some time. It sounds like he injured that knee in the opener in Brazil. They lost that game to Philadelphia. The defense did not look great. Now, I'm not going to take too many judgments off that game. It was a terrible field. They're traveling to a distant country. It's just a weird week 1 matchup for them. But I will say they weren't that impressive in that game. And if Love has to miss a few games, they have to start Malik Willis, who they just got a couple weeks ago. That could put them in an early hole. Now, interesting, Love's timetable for recovery, they're kind of being coy about it, but they're really thinking like 3 to 4 weeks for this MCL injury. Puts him on track to mate that Vikings game a couple weeks from now. They've got 2 games before that, but 2 games, and then the third game is the Vikings game from now. That could be kind of that 50-50 point where he could be ready to return, might not be ready to return. That'll be interesting to see if he's ready for the Vikings in late September or if he has to miss one more game. But anytime he misses is time that Green Bay is going to have to compensate for the loss of Jordan Love. That could put a dent in them. Chicago beat Tennessee to open the season, but Caleb Williams, frankly, looked like a mess. Maybe that smooths out as the year goes on. He's a rookie. He's going to get better, things like that. But they were not as impressive as I thought they would be, but found a way to win. So 2 through 4 in the NFC North, a little bit more up for grabs than maybe I thought going into the season. Now, Jordan Love replaced, of course, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay when Rodgers was traded to the Jets. Rodgers missed all but 4 snaps last season with a torn Achilles. He came back last night, Monday Night Football, and Jets got steamrolled by the 49ers. 49ers look really good. They look really, really good. Missing Christian McCaffrey didn't matter. They steamrolled the Jets. Rodgers looked old, looked like he was recovering from an injury. Not going to draw too many conclusions again from week 1. I still remember Brett Favre in 2009 with the Vikings. He didn't look great. early on in that season either. He kind of took him a while to rev up and get everything going that year. So I'll give Rodgers the benefit of the doubt. He's going to be a better quarterback week 4, week 5 than he was in week 1, but not a great start for the Jets. Not a great sign that he didn't look like he was picking up where he left off. He did not look like an MVP candidate at the very least. And oh, by the way, a Netflix documentary coming out about Rodgers in December, the documentary that nobody asked for, that nobody wanted, that Netflix is nonetheless going to give us. That will do it for me today. Randy Johnson joins me on tomorrow's show to talk Gopher football. Chip Scoggins will also be on tomorrow's show talking about his football across Minnesota feature. A video element of that will also be available today on the Star Tribune YouTube page. Check that out. Until then, I am Michael Rand. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Back at it again tomorrow.